Welcome back. There you see it. Suspense building on the 5th floor of the courthouse in Maricopa County. Here we are coming to you live from Phoenix. The jury deliberations have begun for the day. They started at over 7 hours. The clock begins to run, and we could find out today, is it life or death for Jodi Arias? Again, the jury continues to deliberate. Started early today. Let's bring in criminal defense attorney John Manuelian. One of the points in the midst of that, John, is there's a lot out there, a lot this jury hasn't seen. This new round of interviews. Can you find a fair jury if there's a new phase, new jury impaneled?
That's the question, Mike. Due process is still afforded to Jodi Arias, even during these proceedings. How are you going to be able to get impartial jurors that have not been prejudiced, have not seen the videos that Jodi released, the interviews, her pleas for death? It's going to be extremely hard to do, and that just makes it more complicated. And it could result in the same exact jury problem that we have right now, which is they can't come to a unanimous decision.
All right, again, jury deliberations continue in that courthouse behind me. John, before we get to that, let's talk about potentially a plea. Could you see that coming down the pike?
With Juan Martinez, never. There's no way that Juan Martinez is going to give her a plea, in my opinion, based on his past legal experience, based on his passion for this case. I mean, he would have to confer with the family of Travis Alexander to make sure that they were okay with that, and I don't think they're okay with that. There's a lot of considerations to be taken before that's done, and the odds are Jodi's not going to get a deal in this case at this point.
All right, let's, we showed you the interview there, and you just think, wow, what if a juror saw this and they're not supposed to watch anything? But again, Jodi Arias, we showed you the video of her primping for these interviews. She was calling the shots. I talked to a reporter who interviewed her and said she was in total control. But again, Jodi Arias, a couple of hot topics there, huh, John Manuelian? Sex and religion, and we got an earful in court as well.
Right. You know what's interesting? I really feel bad, Mike, for these defense attorneys. This girl just keeps on talking and sticking her foot in her mouth. I mean, she did okay in that interview, but why is she still talking? She's still in deliberations. And, no matter what the judge says to the jurors, you're going to hear about this somewhere, walking to your office, looking at a newspaper stand and seeing her face on the front page or on the news in the background, or your family and friends. She just doesn't care really what happens in his proceedings, and it's always been about her. I mean, take a look at her face. She's got her makeup on just the way she had her makeup on when she got arrested. She's more concerned about her appearance. She has no signs of remorse, and she just keeps playing this game, the Jodi Arias game, and she believes that the jurors are going to do what she wants to do. And it's all been about control, Mike, with Jodi from the beginning.
Well, who has the ultimate control right now? That jury. 8 men and 4 women deciding her fate. Deliberations continue. We'll keep you posted. Stay with us. Lisa, thanks for the call. Appreciate it. John Manuelian's with us. All right, let's hit on that point, John. Let's say there's a juror who has, or it's come to light, they have a moral dilemma concerning the death penalty. Well, we should have all known that at the outset, right?
Mike, saying that you could give somebody the death penalty during voir dire and doing it are completely different things. This is a coming to a soul-searching moment for the jury. The jury is now trying to implement what they said that they could do. But Jodi's presented a pretty good picture of somebody, in my opinion, that could be saved. And I'll tell you why, Mike. She's not the worst of the worst. We're not talking about a gang member. We're not talking about a serial killer. Yes, what she did was heinous, but there are, believe it or not, worse individuals that are eligible for the death penalty. And obviously I am against the death penalty for many different legal reasons, but there might be 1 or 2 jurors out there that said, you know what, she's not the worst of the worst, and she could be punished by serving a life sentence. And for some people, it may be worse punishment for Jodi to give that life sentence instead of the death penalty.
John, real quick, what do you think of her argument? I can maybe do some good, whether it be Locks of Love or Book of the Month Club there in jail.
I didn't think those were good arguments at all. I think they fell on deaf ears, but I think that some of the jurors might be articulating reasons in their mind what Jodi can do for society. Perhaps she could repent. Perhaps she could change in a few years. Remember, she's very, very young. She said herself that her family lives a very she's got a long lifespan in her family that runs in her genes. So I think that the jurors could think maybe she could change at some point and find herself or have a coming to a soul-searching moment.
Deliberations continue. We'll keep you posted. So you go. John Manuelian's with us again as we hear and feel the gravity in her voice, and we'll probably let you play a little bit more of that, listen to a little bit more of that, as she's still emotional talking about it. And John, that talks about the gravity of this. That speaks to that. And it's tough to say and sign a name authorizing death.
And look what happened in that case during the Pettit family murder trial. These people, the wife, the two kids, they were brutally raped. They were burnt alive or possibly burnt alive. It was a heinous, heinous crime. And they had a tough time choosing death in that case. And Mike, that's why I'm saying if they had a tough time in that case choosing death, certainly most of us could understand why the jury's having a tough time in this case.
What do you think is the most powerful image that a jury is looking at when they're contemplating sparing Jodi Arias' life? Is it a picture of her as a cute little kid? I mean, is that what just might stick on a human level?
I think they're trying to feel if they have a connection with them, either through remembering possibly a daughter they have, a niece or somebody, seeing if there's any kind of hope for this girl to repent. And that's what I think your guest said on HLN After Dark. That's something that they were thinking about, whether or not the Pettit family's Stephen Hayes could actually be somebody that could repent. And they said, no, it's not that type of person. They thought that that wasn't a soul worth saving. Is Jodi a soul worth saving? That's what they're contemplating right now.
Boy, John, you just touched on a huge point here. Can she show remorse? Because she really didn't flat out say, I'm sorry in her allocution, and I think everybody was waiting for that.
Well, Mike, now she can't. 10 years later, maybe she can. Maybe she'll come to grips with who she really is. She's so knee-deep in her lies right now, she needs time away from those lies, and significant time has to elapse before she could have a coming to a spiritual moment or soul-searching moment. She can't do it now. She's in the middle of this war, and in her mind, she's got her boots in the ground. But, 10, 20 years is a long time. Who knows what can happen during that period? And I think that's what the jury's contemplating right now, whether she can come to terms at some point in her lifetime.
All right, again, deliberations continue in that courthouse behind me, and we'll let you know if there's any breakthrough, if there's a question, anything like what happened yesterday as well as things assemble in that courtroom. Well, and John, you just said something there, knee-deep in lies. She's up to her neck in lies, and that leads to, that hurts her because of anything she says. Is she believable to that jury?
Even if she turns around, hypothetically, let's just say this jury hangs and a new jury comes in and she changes her tune and she breaks down and cries and says, yes, I killed Travis Alexander. It's all my fault. Who's going to believe her? She's such a liar that the jury might say to themselves that she's still lying. And you don't know who Jodi Arias is. Who is Jodi Arias? I don't think Jodi knows who Jodi Arias is. And that's the problem in this case.
Get back to Jennifer Wilmot. John Manuelian with us, great criminal defense attorney. John, now your thought, was that a good moment for her? With the hands on the shoulder, asking the simple question, do you kill her?
If Jodi deflects the death penalty case, it's because of that moment, the Jennifer Wilmot moment. She humanized her by touching her shoulders, by looking at the jury and saying, do you want to kill her? And that's something that the jurors have to live with for the rest of their lives. It's a powerful moment. It's a huge burden to put on each and every individual juror, and I thought it was brilliant, and that might be her saving grace.
Yeah, because it made it specific, individuals. It wasn't a group question, it was to the one, and it's so powerful. All right. That's the other image, that Juan Martinez played in his closing. One more time, that gruesome photo of Travis Alexander. It's tough to shake.
It's very, very tough to shake, and it's very, very powerful from a prosecution's perspective. Look, all it takes is a few of those jurors to take a look at those photos to understand the gruesome nature in which this killing happened. The stabs, the repeated killings. I mean, he was killed 3 times over. I mean, it was horrendous, and it was a cruel, cruel murder. But again, we have to see what the jury's going to feel about that.
All right, jury deliberations continue. To John's point, 8 men, 4 women making that decision. We'll get fresh information for you from that courtroom as the suspense continues to build on the 5th floor in the courthouse. Stay with us.